All this beauty is seriously compromised now. Ecosystems are beginning to collapse, and neither markets nor governments seem willing to make the drastic decisions which should be made to stop, or at least mitigate, the disintegration of civilization to which the collapse of ecosystems inevitably leads. This puts in our hands, the hands of global civil society, the responsibility to do something, whatever, what each individual can do to try to avoid disaster. 15 years ago, a group of friends set out to do what was within our reach, to do our bit in that necessary transformation. We founded a non-governmental organization and focused our action on issues related to peace. Thus was born the Avalon Project, Initiative for a Culture of Peace, an educational and activist NGO which would receive the official support of Professor Federico Mayor Zaragoza, Director General of UNESCO between 1987 and 1999. We gave hundreds of lectures in Spain. We held many workshops, seminars and courses. We invited experts in social and ecological issues and prominent pacifists to give their testimony and encourage the seed of transformation in our society. We also get involved in different campaigns and mobilizations, taking action to squares and streets and mountains in defense of social and ecological justice. We even tried to mediate in open conflicts, asking for dialogue in a world in which the religious fanatics return to their roots. We tried to bring people, cultures and religions closer, and we transformed the longing for peace into a party for the people, launching a call to the universe below a starry night. And yes, we were also involved in one of the greatest historical events not only of Spain, but of the global society of the beginning of the 21st century, the Spanish Revolution, the Indignados movement, which was the inspiration and origin of the Occupy movement in the world. Subsequently, the 2008 crisis hit us badly, and the Avalon Project sunk into a lethargy. Even some of us had to emigrate.
My young love said to me, my mother won't mind.
But the spirit of Avalon followed everywhere, all of us who had lived the dream of Avalon. Many of our members joined social movements or civil rights platforms, while others carried their struggle beyond our borders, making significant contributions to the campaign against climate change or in the protests against Trident nuclear submarines in Scotland. The Avalon Project might have sunk into lethargy, but Avalon, its spirit, was still alive, and it continued its fighting under different forms and disguises for the sake of that better world for which we had dreamed since our inception. 5 years have passed since our project entered into lethargy, and the world around us, human beings, the planetary community of life, not only have not reduced their pain, but their tragedy has increased.
As the
Are we going to stand still when the rest of the world crumbles around us?
No.
No, we are not going to stand still. The Avalon Project has begun to stretch out of its long sleep, and now is laying the foundations for the realization of an important global project. This project is based on a wide-ranging research which I carried out with the invaluable help of professors from the National University of Distance Learning in Spain and the universities of Granada and Edinburgh. In my research, I justified that in order to change the course of our planetary civilization, we needed a change in our global worldview, and scientifically demonstrated that such a worldview shift could be fostered through the telling of myths, legends, and folk tales, specifically selected to convey a systemic worldview. From this demonstration, I formulated some ideas to try to foster that worldview shift in humanity through some global initiatives. These ideas were surprisingly well received by the global community of storytellers and the International Secretariat of the Earth Charter at the United Nations University for Peace in Costa Rica. My proposal was addressed to two different fronts which, however, complete and complement each other. First, the creation of a global bank of myths, legends and folk tales in tune with the Earth's Charter. And second, the construction of a global network of storytelling activists who transmit these stories all over our planet. The first idea, which we have called the Earth Stories Collection, was inspired by the Global Seed Bank, which was created in 2008 at the Norwegian island of Svalbard in anticipation of a global food crisis. The difference is that in our case, we would collect cultural seeds. As noted by scholars such as Carl Gustav Jung, Claude Lévi-Strauss, Mircea Eliade, or Joseph Campbell, myths, legends and folk tales are the building blocks of any culture or civilization. And this because, as our research showed, these naive stories build the worldview from which all civilization develops. So, in order to change the course of our titanic civilization, we will need to change our collective view of the world. And what better for it than some traditional stories capable of infusing a new and more human, compassionate, supportive, and ecological view. The second front of this new project would involve the creation and development of a global network of storytelling activists. This idea came from Dr. Donald Smith, founder and director of the National Theatre of Scotland and director of the Scottish International Storytelling Festival. This is a great celebration attended every year by storytellers from all corners and all cultures on the earth. Donald's idea is to create a whole army of storytellers who cover the earth, transforming the worldviews of societies through the stories of our global bank of traditional stories, the Earth Stories Collection. For the time being, at the first meeting held in Scotland in October 2017, storytellers from around 30 countries attended. But all this would have to be framed in a much broader framework, the educational framework from which these global initiatives and many others would work on a local level. Deep activism. Deep activism would be placed in line with the deep ecology concept of the Norwegian philosopher Inverness. That is to say, it would be an activism that has its roots and motivations in deep experiences of the individuals. These experiences would lead them to a much more powerful and lasting commitment for the global transformation. We would be referring here to an activism based on consciousness, a transpersonal activism. This kind of awareness and the new worldview would be what we would transmit to the global society, seeking that every human being, regardless of their origin, background and history, to become a social and environmental activist within their own local environment, using their own virtues and abilities through those things which they are passionate about. All this to transform their immediate world. We don't know if we can avoid the destruction of all this beauty. What we do know is that we don't even have time to be pessimistic. We only have time to fight. Each conscious human being in their own environment, clinging to the unshakable hope that we will overcome, that life and Mother Earth are on our side. Not in vain. In Avalon we always assume as our own the words of the famous American anthropologist Margaret Mead when she said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." What can we lose trying? Yes. The dream returns. Avalon returns to the fight. We are back.